Today's project is a toilet sprayer or a bidet, if you're trying to be French about it. I know that I can expect some frustration with this. Plumbing isn't one of my things. I actually dislike plumbing. It's just because every time I get into it, stuff seems to happen. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to show you how I do it. At the same time, I'm going to try to show, because I'm sure it's going to be frustrating for me. And I think like a lot of people do videos and they just cut through it and they look really good when we're doing them. But in the truth, it's probably going to be a pain. And I can only imagine what I'm going to do and how I'm going to find or figure out how to do this thing anyway, because it seems like it's going to be difficult. But if you stick through it, hopefully you learn something through this. And you can see me go through my dance of emotions, because this is gonna be a ballet of tragedy, I'm assuming. Yeah, so it's gonna be like whatever that swan ballet thing is, except it's gonna be me trying to install a bidet. So the first thing I did was I came out here and opened this up and turned the valve in line. And that got rid of any water in the line. After I open it up, so you'll open it up like this. And then we'll go inside and we'll open and turn on the sink. Now we simply just turn on the line. It allows all the air and water to go out. What we're going to be working on, this is brand new and I want to get this done before we actually use it. I am going to hook up a bidet or a toilet sprayer, whatever you want to call it. I like bidet. It's a bidet, mate. So we're going to go ahead and move this guy back. I already checked on the other back side of this wall. It's just connected to an elbow, and I think there's enough play in there to where after I disconnect this line, I hope that there's not a whole bunch of water. I should get a towel. I should get a towel. I'm gonna get a towel. I recommend you get a towel. We got our towel here, and now we're gonna go ahead and unscrew this. I'd expect some water, hopefully not too much, and hopefully this can move back a little bit. It does, somewhat. Yeah, that'll move back enough. So hopefully I can fit this in here without doing too much. I have my concerns that I may have to move this valve to the back side of this wall, which I don't know. For me, it's fine. Some people like to have the shut-off valve right next to the toilet. I mean, it's going to be an extra step if I do have to do that. I'm going to have to pull the drawer out and then shut the valve off. But, you know, I'd prefer to have the toilet sprayer, honestly. It just makes cleanup or whatever you want to. It's just easier. Or you can, you know, water fight. You can't do that with the toilet the way it's set up. You can't really do water fights. So, but if you do have a bidet set up, you can do water fights. You can ward off dogs, kids, wives, people, maybe gnomes. I'm not really sure. I've never tried to toilet spray a gnome. So we're going to continue on with this and let's see how it goes. On this side of the wall, it's just got that sheet of plywood. And it goes straight through back here onto an elbow. So I'm going to have to figure out how I am going to do this. My dilemma that I'm having here is that valve is pushed right up against this wall. And even though I could find the shortest T, it's a 1/2 inch, by the way, NIP.
And then I installed this valve on top of it. Even though I found a shorter piece, I have to have a shutoff valve here next to the toilet. And there's only about a 1/2 inch I can play with here. That doesn't give me enough to install this. Even with a flexible hose, it just wouldn't make sense. So the thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I am going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this out as a square, and then I'm going to do a box on the other side of this wall that's still going to separate everything, but it'll allow me to push this valve back in there and still be able to turn it off and on. So let's get to it. I tried to do a video showing me cutting this thing multiple times with my knife. This stuff is it's just a Luan based paneling, and it's just a single pane there, right? So essentially what you do is you just run your knife, first obviously put a line down that you're going over, and you just keep on running your knife across it, just scoring it over and over. Honestly, it probably only took me, I don't know, 20 minutes. You want to take your time and trim it out right. There's other ways I probably could have done this and make a hole differently. This is just the way I chose to do it. Now I'm going to try to trim this back a little bit more, but now I can at least move this back there. I'm going to make a little box for it, and that way you don't see that there. But we wanted to put a bidet in here for, toilet sprayer. And this thing's brand new. It's never been used. So I felt like now's the time to be hugging a toilet. Now's the time to hug the toilet. The last time I hugged the toilet, I met our French friends and, had to represent the country and drink well. So I was hugging a toilet that night. But that was years ago at this point. So I like to reuse stuff. I've mentioned it before in a lot of my videos. Well, I don't have that many videos, but in the videos I've made, I like to mention it. So I cut these crimps off here. I need to shorten this piece up because even after I cut the hole, it still doesn't have enough movement. So I went ahead and shined a light through the backside of this to find out where this is stopping. Then I marked it, and then I decided to go ahead and bring this up as close to that mark as I could. Mark there. So I'll cut that, trim it back a little bit. I also took this much off of the piece coming out of the wall, and that should give me enough to go ahead and rebuild this and finish my box up, and hopefully it works out. I'm already in the wall. I've already cut, so it has to work out, or else we're gonna have a real problem when we pressurize the water. So if you can't tell, I'm a highly messy person, especially when I got projects going. There's a lot of projects in here, so what am I gonna do? Well, I could clean up, but I'm not gonna do that. I know that much. I don't really care. I'm just a messy person. That's how it goes. So I've already marked the spot. You want to make sure that it's really good and squared up when you go to do the cut. Good and squared up. Don't want to make the mistake of doing one crimp without putting the other ones on. So we're going to go ahead and slip these on. Somehow, maybe it's ironic, I'm not sure. But I actually am kind of into uniformity. So I'm going to make sure that these two are going the right direction or the same direction. I don't know how that works, that I'm so messy, and yet I care about that. So it's the truth. It just is what it is. We got this there, that there. And we're going to go ahead and do our crimp. You want to have it, basically around that center one, that center ring there. Just taking a little guess there. This is just in case you've never done this before. Gonna open that jaw up there, and then we crimp. And it'll release when it's done. Check it. See if it gets to turn. Oh. Boom. Off a little bit. Whatever. You're not going to see it anyway. Here, I'll just make it to the bottom side. There we go. Well, there we go. So here's the splitter that it came with, right? So as you can see, it's a little bit longer, but that's not entirely the problem. It's also a different size. It's like a 3/4, I'm pretty sure, but so that would have actually, because I would have had to throw in a reducer on each end, and that would have even increased the length of it that much more. And if you could tell, the setup they had here, it didn't give me much room to play with anyway. Even after I've done all this, it's still gonna, I made a little box to, well, I haven't made it all the way yet, but I started working on a box to actually push back that section a little bit more, so I could even get a little bit more out of it, so I can go ahead and still have a safety shutoff valve there. Otherwise, I would have had to put the valve on the back side of it, and I would have had to pull out a drawer. Obviously, you want a shutoff valve right next to the toilet, so that's why we got it like this. Cut out my square. This is going to be the backing plate, and I'll drill a hole in it after I build it up. So what I'll do, I can't figure out a way to position the phone to where I can actually record myself doing this, which isn't that big of a deal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to follow it around with that knife with a brand new blade in it, and I'm going to go around multiple times and clean up the square hole that I just made. Here's the box I made up. Pretty simple. Just, you know, had some Luan that I painted white already. So I cut it up and then glued it together using some grab tight glue. You can buy it at the hardware store. I mean, I just happen to have some laying around. I mean, it was laying down at the same time. Anyway, you could probably use super glue or, I don't know, whatever. Wood glue, maybe, if you didn't have paint on it. Wood glue isn't really that adherent to paint. That's why it's called wood glue. I pushed the box through, and now I have this pipe here. The plan is, after I install this back into here, doesn't go that easy, but you know, boom, right? Kind of does. So after I put this back in here, I'm going to put a clamp on it. I got to pull this out, so I'm going to need both hands down here, and I don't have a way to set the phone up. I hope this is still useful, honestly. I'm trying to show the phases I'm doing this in, just because I don't know of anybody else that's done a video like this, and I do things my own way, and you know, this is definitely an outside of the box type of thought process, but I think it'll work just fine. And so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in here, right, and then I'm going to put one of my clamps on it, the PEX tubing clamp, and I'm going to go ahead and clamp it down, and then I'm going to pull it out, and then I'm going to put the box in here, right. And then I'll put a trim around this. I'll probably put some glue around this whole edge here too. So this was the fitting I ended up needing. It came in a package of 2, you know, Go figure, I needed one. So it went on the back of the toilet here. And then this thing here, it's G 1/2 inch thread. This is standard. This is not. So this is a standard thread. This is a 1/2 inch thread. I had to buy a special piece to adapt 1/2 inch to a G 1/2 inch, as in like, G, I needed a new part, which I have an extra one if anybody needs it. For some reason, this is why plumbing, I do it surprisingly a lot. I'm actually an electrician. I used to be a carpenter, so I'm still a carpenter too, but I've never really been too good with this kind of thing. And this is why. This is why. G 1/2 inch? Come on, people. Why? The threading. Why is the threading that? It's not even barely different. It's just so you had to get a new part. I don't know. There's probably a lobbyist that just made 5 cents. You know, some politician made 5 cents off of me. Anyway, it's something to keep in mind. When you're doing these adapters for like a bidet, they need apparently a G thread. So something to keep in mind. You're going to want to get yourself something like this. It was pretty inexpensive, but I could only find it in 2 and not 1.
Make sure everything is clean. Definitely don't want to strip this out. This was a crazy amount of energy to install this, but I think at some point it was more just completing the task. I'm kind of stubborn, and sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's not. But the amount of energy that this has taken is a little bit ridiculous for a toilet sprayer. Or bidet, if you want to use it as such. Which I've been taking some French lessons. And apparently bidet means small horse. So, because the idea was that you were kind of straddling it. You probably can't unlearn that now and use that same area for better knowledge. I can't see. I'll tell you what, there's not much room back here. That doesn't look very good at all. Oh, that looks horrible. Oh my, wow. You know, a lot of these projects they just take time. And usually you want to listen to some music. Preferably on construction sites, it's kind of like a classic rock, you know, so. Just if you want to get down. It could be country as well, but typically classic rock. Or depending on the region where you're at. That looks a little better. I'm not quite sure if I should be putting Teflon tape on a plastic piece. Whoa. That didn't work, did it? My advice is not to do this, because this is lame. Oh, so lame. I had to trim part of this back, and I don't even know if it's gonna not leak. Which means I might have to take this whole little piece off, which I think it's glued on and not screwed on, or maybe a bit of both. I'm gonna have to take my Dremel and cut it if this leaks. Sometimes I wish I wasn't so stubborn with stuff. But you know, I kind of set my mind I was gonna do it, and I said I was gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it. I just don't know if it was a smart move or not. Probably not. Okay.
A almost finished product. I'm probably gonna clean that box up I made. But the valve line is on. The pressure testing is done. I'm a little bit shaky because today's leg day. Don't skip leg day. Friends, don't let friends skip leg day. Anyway, this fitting right here is also the G 1/2 inch to a standard 1/2 inch. I'm so glad this didn't leak because I had to cut into it because I'd stripped it. Whenever you're messing with metal to plastic, no matter what type of metal it is, I think this is a brass fitting, you are risking damaging the thread and stripping it. And I did it. I'm not a plumber. I'm shaky. Leg day. There, that's better. So nobody's born with this knowledge. When you're doing these things, be patient with yourself. I am so glad I didn't have to cut this. That would have been just such a pain. I probably would have bought a new toilet. This is all brand new, so I can crawl around here. Otherwise, it'd probably feel a little bit weird. I'd probably just clean it up really good and still crawl around. This, I am a carpenter and electrician. I'm not a plumber. This looks terrible. I know that. I'm going to come back and clean it up. I just wanted to, this is the main thing that I was doing anyway. This is just whatever. Just be patient with yourself. Nobody's born with this knowledge. Keep trying. And know that plumbers get paid a lot for a reason, so do electricians. But I don't know. If you're going to do this, do it. But it's a lot of work.
Yeah? Yeah, I know. No, we're not doing that. Fine, I'll give you something, but you gotta wait. You just gotta wait a second. Let me finish this. I gotta finish this out. I'll do that afterwards, okay? I'll do that afterwards. You can eat afterwards. Just let me finish this up. So, thank you for sticking around. I have a working bidet. It's pressure tested. It's doing great. It was frustrating. I'm glad I did it. In the end, I guess I feel like I did something and feel kind of accomplished. Especially, that was difficult. It wasn't the most fun project. That being said, the next time I do it, which I probably will again, I'll be a little better with it. I'll be a little faster. I'll understand a little bit more about plumbing. The G thread versus the standard thread. That's an annoyance, but whatever. It's something now I know about, and I'll keep an eye out for it in the future. Hopefully, after you watch this, you know more than I did when I started. So, I think that's the whole point with these things. That's what we're trying to do anyway. I'm just trying to communicate to you, so you don't have to go through the same types of errors I did. But if you do, be patient with yourself, because next time you do it, you'll be a little better at it. Kind of like walking through mud. Every time you walk through mud, you get a little bit more mud on you. Every time I do plumbing, I hate it. But every time I do it, you get a little better at it. And it's not that, I just don't want to pay somebody to do it. I know that sounds kind of funny. And I like accomplishing projects. So hopefully this helps you. I hope that you find yourself in a plumbing position, getting ready to get frustrated and realize you're not the only one. Everybody gets frustrated when you first start learning. It's a new thing. Give yourself some patience for you and other people, and listen to some tunes or something. Take a break once in a while. Pet a dog. Release that. What is it? I think it's oxytocin. Hey Nara, is it serotonin? Serotonin? I think it's serotonin. Nara, is it serotonin? Is that what it is? Which one is it? She doesn't know. Did you just eat a fly? Okay.